Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to walk you through on how to make a CV. I'll also just be having Fanlam Van Gogh next to it because why not? This is honestly, if you haven't tried it, you can get it from any kind of like Chinese bakery. The English is pandan cake, but honestly, this is it. Honestly, if you haven't tried it, it's not super sweet and it's not savory. It's like a little bit sweet. You have to try it to know what it tastes like. But anyways, I'm gonna be eating that whilst I, walk you guys through a CV.
Okay, so we have basically just like a draft of something called a CV, you could say, to a certain extent. So essentially, I created this out of imagination and just like a little bit as a joke, so that you guys could get a more visualized sort of example instead of me just walking through a CV and saying, here are the good parts, here are the bad parts, this is what you should do, this is what you shouldn't do, because anyone can just grab, a CV template off of Google, ChatGPT, and be like, look, this is how you write a CV, this is how you write a perfect CV. But if I actually write a CV with you guys and show you the ins and outs, although it might be a little bit longer than usual, then it might be more engaging and a little bit more useful. So that's why I decided to so-called build it from scratch. So on the left side, it's like what you have like with like the hair TikToks, or like makeup TikToks, but like the before and after. So this would be like the before, and then over here, like where I'm clicking right now, this will be the after. Okay, so we're using Word right now. I personally use LaTeX. So there are templates on LaTeX which I did use for my CV. So I kind of mixed and matched writing my own code and also using other people's sort of CV template. So I can say for my one on LaTeX, I used someone else's template to centralize everything and kind of get the logos imported. You can do that on Word. It's just a little bit more fidgety. And one way I would do something on Word to make it more sort of real estate effective is to not just type it out like this. So right now you can see there's no text box or anything. What I'd do instead of that is go and insert, go and get a text box. So you click draw a text box, and then what you can do essentially is get it from corner to corner. And what this does, it just allows us to essentially copy and paste what we've got here, which is the exact same. So yeah, I'd say that's a fair amount for so-called header. And then what we want to do is just make it a little bit more professional, just maybe, center it. Typically like to make the name a little bit bigger compared to everything else. So something like this, right? So, and also with the text box, you want to go to shape format and turn off the outline so that there's no outline, so you can't see the box. The box will essentially be invisible to whoever's viewing it. So what this basically does is, as opposed to before, you have a header where you can write, right? You can write it here and do whatnot. So you can write it here, but it blurs it out. It's a little bit of a pain. What we can do instead is easily just make a text box and do the exact same thing. With this area, if you have, for example, your own personal website, I usually like to just add it like here. So www.yourwebsitehere.com, for example. And I also made up this phone number. So yeah, good luck trying to copy it. And also just, an email. 100% legit, guys, 100% legit. So this is essentially just the start of your CV. It looks very, very basic, generic. If you don't like it as high, you can lower it, but I just like to maximize space because, I'm a little bit of a real estate freak. So we've started with the header. Essentially, it's the same thing for every single section. So every single section, you want to just have a new text box, which means what you can do. So usually you can see that the margins around here, right? We could put it like right to the top, like maximize our space as much as possible, which is why we want to use text boxes. So let's just add the education here. Okay, so I've just added in John Smith's education section. So we can see here that, he's got his high school grades. He did very well in that high school. And now he's moved on to the university of his dreams, and he's taking data analytics and econ. This is technically my dream major with finance as well. Well, let's just put with finance because why not? Alright, so this is his dream course at his dream university, and he hasn't got much to write. So all he's really put is essentially that he's a prefect head boy, which is great, and he's also put some key modules, which is also great. However, what you want to do is maximize your space and also maximize the quality of what you write in that space. So it's great that you've got your key modules. What I typically recommend is writing the modules that you're ongoing taking, like you're taking right now, and also the ones that you had good history with before. So for example, let's just assume this person's in second year and they got a good grade in first year. So what I would do here is put current key modules and put, I don't know, let's just put econometrics 3, econometrics 4, make it look even better. Right there, econometrics 4, macro 3, micro 2, let's just say fail micro for example. And yeah, so you get the gist, right? And underneath you put additional things. So I don't know, if you were part of the finance society but you didn't really have much to write in the experience section, you could just put finance society member, and then additional experiences and society involvement. Okay, so this is like the area to kind of put things that is related within your university. And you could also, let's say you got a really good grade, let's say you got 86% last year as a weighted average, so you can put achieved 86% weighted average in first year. Okay, so this is essentially kind of an example of what you could do, and just to make it a little bit clearer, what I do usually is put them in bullet points, and to just maximize space even more, you just put it on one, so then it basically removes the gap between like each of the bullet points, if you know what I mean. And then I also like to just bold out everything that you want them to see. So for example, if you go to a very nice uni, then you can bold it. I mean, I still bold my uni, so yeah, I usually just typically bold titles, not even if it's like impressive, just whether it's a title or not. So then like you can see like clearly you can differentiate between his high school or senior school, whatever you want to call it, and university or college if you're American. So yeah, so we have our simple education system kind of in the CV right now, if you're kind of getting the gist of it. So again, we can do the same thing for experience. So you just copy and paste section, just make it easy. We can, if you really want to maximize space, you can just put it like right there. Or what I like to do is, so like Word snaps it for you because it shows where the edge of the other text box is, so it snaps into place. That's what I usually use to like use the margins, because then everything's equal. So again, with the experience section, what you want to do is, obviously you're going to want more space for your experience, is do the same thing as your education. So I'll do that now, and then I'll speed run through it, so then you don't have to sit through the whole thing. Okay, so I've just completed the experience, and I've also included a volunteering section. So if you haven't watched my previous video on how to build a monster CV, I'll put the thumbnail on screen right now. Do definitely make sure to watch that video, because I believe that it brings a lot of value to, you know, building a CV and the thought of building a CV, especially the sort of mindset that I bring to looking, and also you could say building a CV. I say that it's more like an art piece more than trying to get something right. So it's very subjective looking at a CV. So you might look at this and be like, ugh, this looks horrible, I hate it. But someone else might look at it and be like, you know, it's not bad, it's not bad. So definitely look at building a CV as an art piece. So the next thing we want to do is actually not move on to the next section, because if you look at the content here, some of it's okay, like we've got some buzzwords, you know, learn, went, organized, helped, but sort of what the other contents you have within this CV is not great. Like, you don't want to be putting lots of stuff done outside of workouts. Like, great, you did a lot of work outside of, you know, your typical 9 to 5, but what did you do? Were you watching TikTok? Were you just sitting in your office watching TikTok, or were you actually doing something else? It's stuff like this where you don't want to be ambiguous, and you don't want to be kind of conveying that you're very lazy and that you're just writing this because it sounds cool and that, it might make you get the job more, because ironically it won't. So you want to just eliminate those types of things. So if you don't have anything to say, honestly, just remove it. Just make it a 2 bullet point sort of description, right? So what we have here is learn about different financial and insurance products. That's not bad. It's not bad. You're saying that you've learned something on this internship. And then you can say created client decks that were used to persuade clients to purchase into a certain asset for the MPF in Hong Kong. Like, that's not bad. It can definitely be improved on, but obviously for the context and time of this video, I will just leave it as is. It's not bad, but it's not great, just to let you know. Again, we have another experience example. So we have serve experience at Co-ops. Guy got John Smith, got a part-time job at Co-op when he was a kid. So, for example, you just want to get rid of this. Went around the store to talk to people who couldn't find stuff. First of all, it just doesn't sound good. It sounds bland, it sounds plain, and second of all, that's what you do on the job. You're supposed to be describing what you did in the job, not what you're supposed to do on the job, if that makes sense. So again, we'll just delete this. And for example, this would be a better sort of description of what you do on the job. So you could say, helped 15 people one day, was promoted to install manager after 3 months of working because of my excellent customer service skills and efficient use of time. Again, this is not great. And there is one thing that I want to say specifically when you're writing a CV. Before you write a CV, please choose whether you're going to write it in first person or third person. Now, typically, I prefer, this is again a preference, but I prefer seeing and also writing in the third person, because one, it helps us save words, and two, it just sounds more professional. Like, you see descriptions on LinkedIn of, for example, managing directors and CEOs, and their descriptions are always in third person. And you sort of want to replicate that in a way, because it kind of symbolizes like professionalism. That sounded so English literal cheek. But anyway, what it's supposed to be like is, look, I'm professional here and I can write in one sort of, I forgot the word, but sort of like position. So you don't want to be writing in first person your education section and writing in third person your experience. Just keep it all in first person. So I did this, I did that, or either just put organized, yada, 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 or he did this, right? Just keep it consistent, which is what I'm trying to say. So here we've got install manager after 3 months of working, yada, 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 because of, you can put because of his excellent, yada, yada, yada. But instead, I want to put was promoted to install manager after 3 months of working through excellent customer service skills and efficient use of time. So again, we can just check through here that we used, into a certain, learn about, And you can see around in the education section as well, I could have put I achieved, but I just put achieved. And prefect, head boy, improved, yada, yada, yada. So it's all very consistent in terms of whether you're writing in the first or third person. We then move on to the volunteering section. So you don't want to do this, where you have just the title and no description underneath it. Either have it and have a description, or get rid of it and just don't have a description. So either here we can add or get rid. So for this example, I'm gonna get rid of it just because of time's sake. So I don't wanna be that guy, but use buzzwords and keep it short and concise, because again, recruiters only spend about 3 to 5 seconds looking at your CV, and if it's AI, they look at it for a millisecond. So be very, very tactical with your words and keep it short. Okay, so we now move on to the skills section. What I see a lot of people have is not this blank space, but imagine this at the bottom of your CV. What I see is, great, they have a skills section, but what is this? What, like, okay, data analytics, communication, time management, team building, leadership, persuasive, customer service, wealth management, coding, Python, data, SQL, SQL, Tableau, fashion, marketing, Microsoft Office, PowerPoint, debating, research expertise. You get the point. That took way more than 5 seconds to read. So if that is on your CV, as a recruiter, would you even bother reading the skill section for a single second? The answer is no. You want to make the skill section purposeful. You don't want to be wasting 3 lines of your CV just so that they won't read it. That's the problem, right? they don't read it. It's great that you have all these skills. But what I would decide is this is great for brainstorming, write all the skills they have down, but pick a few that aren't generic. For example, team building, leadership, persuasive, Microsoft Office. Everyone knows how to use Microsoft Office unless you either don't have access to a computer, which is a genuine reason, fine, or you're living under a rock in Bikini Bottom. Like, that's the only reason why you wouldn't know Microsoft Office, right? Like, it's pretty much compulsory in the UK education system. Like, I'm sorry to be, like, so blunt about it, but if I see Microsoft Office as one of your skills, it's like, great, you know how to use, like, Word, but you putting that is just like, okay, so you know how to use Word, which means you know how to create a new document and use templates, which is how everyone uses Word. So it's technically not a skill. Unless, like, for example, it's Microsoft Excel, that's something different. Because, yes, everyone can use Excel, but to what degree? Okay, does that make sense? So don't put things that are generic like quantitative skills unless you are very quantitative. Don't put computer literate. Everyone knows how to use TikTok. Okay, so I've cleaned it up a little bit. We've got data analytics, coding, and quantitative skills. Again, you don't want to leave this blank because there's this whole area around here where, you know, it's kind of pointless to have if you're just writing what it is, but you're not explaining what you've got. So essentially what I want to do is explain where I use data analytics. So we could say here, for example, throughout the, or let's say within econometrics, he has used Stata, SQL, and Tableau. Again, you can use the and symbol just to maximize your space used to perform regressions and create a visually appealing deck with hopes of attracting clients to invest in a T-bond, so a treasury bond. So this is just one example. This is literally something I've just came off on the spot right now. But you could probably say, you know, how you use Stata, how you use SQL, how you use Tableau, and what you did with them. So it's great that we've shown that there's performing regressions and created, sorry, grammatic error there, and created a visually appealing deck with the hopes. So again, see, it's very common when you're brainstorming stuff to make grammatical errors and sort of make minor mistakes, which is what recruiters pick up on quite quickly. So you would want to write something similar to this and maybe write a few more bullet points. So you could even do, it would be a little bit of a waste of space, but you could do a little bit of that. Or personally, I would just keep it as this. So again, you'd put the same here. So for example, right? So you can just write some of these things, and if you really want to make it stand out, just bold it. And then we move on to the final miscellaneous sections. So I call these miscellaneous because essentially what you have here is you can see that there's quite a lot of space, like at the bottom of our page, so towards our footer, and sorry about this, towards our footer, and yeah, we have this space around here too. So basically what miscellaneous sections do is, instead of wasting the space and leaving it blank or using really large font, what you can do is use these sections to build more character on your CV. Another thing, just to build character in your CV, not only does it make the recruiter remember you, the second point is similar, but basically what it does is, if for example you have tennis, so let's put tennis and let's put golf, because you know these are like the rich sports, if you must. So let's say you put tennis here and the recruiter loves playing tennis. Well, if they open up your CV, if they have your CV next to them when you're being interviewed, then they'll see, oh, you like playing tennis, like sort of who are your favorite tennis players, how do you play, are you competitive, stuff like that. That's another small talk sort of topic that they can talk to you about in the interview to make yourself more memorable. Okay, so I've just tidied up a little bit here and there and just sort of made the width a little bit narrower and created some space. You can see there's a lot of gaps and there's a lot of improvement for this CV. But for example, if you're just starting off and let's say you only have 2 bits of experience or only volunteering. So one tip here for especially like first years, maybe you might not have many part-time experiences like I did. Essentially what I did was just spam a ton of society roles, just get engaged as much as possible in your first year. And what you can do is, for example, if you only had this and didn't have an internship, you could make your volunteering section your experience. It's only when you really have a lot of experience you can then differentiate them into experience and volunteering. But at first, I would just keep it as experience. So your volunteering would still be experience because it's technically still experience. So yeah, it's just when you have experience, you want to show the recruiter that you've not only just gone to work because of the incentive of money, you've also done some volunteering, so non-paid work to show your dedication and that you're genuinely passionate about something that you're trying to pursue. So that's why we have a volunteering section, sorry. So yeah, it basically started off as this, which is just a list, sort of looks like a essay plan in my opinion. Lots of spelling, grammatical errors and things like this to something a little bit more clean and presentable. So hopefully these were some relevant tips and hopefully you got something out of this video, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.